Hey everybody, what's going on? It is not Friday, it is Wednesday, December
You wish.
27th.
You wish it was Friday.
We were just talking about Friday, and you are watching and listening to the Daily AI Show with Andy and Beth so far. Today, we are talking about the news. And while AI never sleeps, neither does AI news, although it was a relatively
Be
slow week.
quiet.
But things have been percolating. When it's a slow week, we get a chance to see what had happened in the other really busy weeks. So that's where we are. Andy, do you have a story you want to start with?
Yeah, I we there was big news a while back about the AI pin, and it kind
Oh,
of
right.
opens our mind to the idea of having an omnipresent channel through to your personal assistant. And and I haven't really heard any news about that lately. But I believe that there are a number of people who've paid the heavy upfront cost, around $700, to get that pin and to start to use that very sophisticated system offered by Humane AI. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Did you get one for the holiday?
no, no, I didn't bite the bullet on that one because I'm just concerned about, whether it's really going to have. I'd like a trial offer on that level of expense, because not only do you have to pay for the device, but then you also subscribe for $24 a month, I think it is, to have access to their AI platform. And it's an incredible interface, I'm sure, including a laser, display
Right.
onto your hand, which is very cool. Just hold your hand up to your chest where the AI pin is, and it'll actually present images onto your hand, uh, and text.
Right.
But I wear earbuds when I'm out and about working, and I listen to the radio or NPR typically to
Mm-hmm.
show you where my head is at, and or listen to music. You have to pay another $20 for the music feed, so it starts to
Oh,
get,
wow.
the whole AI pin world starts to get very expensive. Now, a lot of people who criticize that particular model uh, held up that this really should be a part of the phone.
Right.
It should be a part of the phone. So, um, Joni Ive is Apple's former chief design officer.
Right.
And the reports came out this week that that he and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, so OpenAI and Joni Ive, are collaborating on a new AI hardware device. Don't know anything about what the device is, but it's exploring new hardware for the AI age. So I'm excited about that one, because I'd hope that it's an accessory to the Apple device that I already own. But anyway, that's the first one I'll show. I mean, I
Right.
can't show anything, but I'll
Right.
bring to your attention.
Absolutely. And the like Apple iPhone has not had a real competitor for a while, right? There's the Google phone, there's the Windows phone. There are people who absolutely love their Androids. Hey, Junmi, I know you would be like popping in here to say not everyone has an iPhone. Also, Aaron is is not an iPhone user, but that's really exciting, I think. Not related to that, because I think it's a completely separate thing, but um, OpenAI is now entering into $100 billion valuation, which would put
Nice.
it as the second most valued startup. The first is SpaceX. And it's interesting. That's interesting because, one, it's the first valuation of OpenAI that's happened since the firing and blow up. So it's sort of an indication from the market that we like what's happened, right? And
Yeah.
we feel it's more stable now. That's all right. And the second thing is that there is also an on the table $89 billion valuation that is linked to employees being able to sell some of their shares, or whatever the appropriate share word is if it's not a share yet. But
Yeah.
insert what employees own in pieces there, and they can
Yeah, it's
sell
a
some of
novel
those.
thing given the corporate structure of that. It's not clear that it could be a phantom stock kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah. But anyway, it's just mind-boggling because, in the world of startups, a unicorn is a 1 billion valuation.
Wow.
And when you reach a 1 billion valuation with a startup of a reasonable size, like even 100, 200, 300 employees, you're minting many millionaires.
Right.
Not only many, but many millions of millions for each of those people in that thing. That's just on a 1 billion valuation. So the wealth accumulation for the people who've been granted those stock
Mhm.
or equity, instruments is mind-boggling. Really mind-boggling to kind of come out at the close to 100 billion valuation just means that there's a lot of people who are making more money than they can ever conceivably spend in their lives unless they're just, going to waste it.
Right.
So I'm going to shift over to another one, which is Australian researchers have developed a non-invasive AI translation using just electroencephalograph. So not fMRI, just an EEG. So, you got you've seen the pictures before. You've got the little, sensor pads that are, stuck to your head, but you put
I've
that
had
on.
those. I've had those,
Have
and I
you?
tell you,
Yeah.
it's harder with hair. It's like so
Yeah.
much harder with hair.
My mapping of my brain using EEG will be much easier. So anyway, they tested on subjects who are reading silently. It achieves 40% accuracy today, and they're working toward 90% accuracy. So what it's doing is it's examining what's happening through this EEG. The AI is then interpreting that, and it can actually output and voice what it is that you're just reading silently. So
Oh, wow.
imagine the applications for people who are having difficulty, speaking themselves.
Right.
All they have to do is think about the words, and those words can be voiced by the AI computer. So people who've had a stroke and can no longer speak because they don't have the muscular control over their voicing system in their wetware.
Right.
So anyway, amazing technology. It's moving so fast, and I'm sure there's going to be some entertainment applications for that as well.
Right. I actually have a friend who has cerebral palsy, and the assumption is that they have complete cognitive, right, development, but
Yeah,
just an inability to communicate that. And like, but many years ago, the technique for that was like, can I control my head and then
right,
spell things
right,
from what I'm hitting? Now it's a little bit more like, can you track my eyes? Can I control my eyes in a way that now
right.
I can spell things out? But being able to just like
Mind reading. This is
skip
mind
that
reading. It's
and
mind reading,
just,
pure and
oh, it
simple.
could be amazing. It could
Yeah,
be amazing. So entertainment, but like yay, accessibility with a capital A.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So Australia also just released um, guidelines for using AI in the courtroom in their legal system, which I think is interesting. I've not really done a super deep dive into that because this is just the release of the guidelines. Like there's not a research study that shows how it's being affected. But what I think is interesting about this is that the the direction that this is taking is guidelines for the use of AI in the court system, not what other countries are doing, is putting guidelines about how it can't be used, right? Like
Yeah.
really trying to
Yeah.
minimize it. Now, that could just be the headline. So it may be deep in the article where it just has a little bit, but I like the embrace of this is inevitable, and therefore let's put some parameters in place, and let's look at the positive places where it can be used, while also limiting the harm that it could possibly do.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Moving right along, as you can see from my tagline, I'm very interested in the educational and training opportunities that are presented by AI, and particularly interested in the user experience design for that to try to make it possible to learn faster and more completely with higher retention than we do today in the typical lecture format, or watch a video and take a little quiz after it. And so personal tutors are of particular interest to me. So I want to share with you something that comes from the world of gaming. So we sometimes speak about personalization and gamification of educational experiences. And there it comes.
There we
Okay.
go.
Yeah. So
So
this
describe
is
what we're
from
seeing, Andy.
Okay, what you're seeing is the homepage, actually not the homepage, but the solutions page for education from a company called InWorld, which is doing non-player characters for games. So it's a gaming development engine, and it has characters that will be in virtual worlds and or video games that are articulated by AI. So they have some smarts. There's a companion article that came out saying the first minds that will be presented via AI are going to be inside games. So the delivery of minds in the active characters that have their own personalities and can modify themselves actually in the context of play. And when I use the word context, I use it there meaningfully, meaning it knows what the situation is. It knows who you are and what your interests are, and it can modify its behavior based on those cues.
Wow.
Anyway, what you're seeing is just a picture of an AI character, and it says a new class of learning experiences. And let me go to that thing, and if I scroll down here, you can see there's lots of different kinds of characters. A little wise owl. You can imagine, working with the headline for a smart fox wearing a college, cap is built with learning in mind. And so anyway, I was very interested in seeing how the tools that are delivered to game developers could be married with large language models in order to develop an interactive tutor. And so that's very interesting to me. It might show its way first into games, but I think you'll start to see this kind of real-time generated AI characters with some smarts behind them showing up in education as well.
Absolutely. And like, it's just kind of important to understand the where wealth gets created, or where the money is in these industries, right? And there is money in games. So when that technology gets elevated in that kind of way, then it sort of spreads out with others. I remember a bunch of years ago, there was a game where you get to kill your cancer cells, right?
Yeah.
Like you literally, like, it was all about the same war technology that is really popular in games. But this was like, hey, I'm healing. I'm imagining the cancer cells. I'm going to go and do that. All right.
Let's say hello to Jen Schwartz. Hi, Jen.
Good morning. Thank you, Jen. Morning, Andy and Beth. And Think to Voice. Yes, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so Writer Buddy is, I assume, a writing tool website, but put together scraped information research. So it scraped data from the web, and it came up with the 50 most visited AI tools with over 24 billion visits. I am going to share that. Okay. There we go. Share. Okay, so what we're looking at is basically a circle graphic that has circles inside it that show that are their size is based on how many visits. And part of what's interesting about this graphic is OpenAI has the majority, right? ChatGPT with 14.6 billion total visits. And that far outweighs the next one down, which is character.ai. And boy, do those people like, they're not, I do not hear about character.ai very much. Like, they're not the same business people that we're talking with. But 3.8 billion for character AI. So if you look at just the relationship between those two, right, 14.6 billion to 3.8 billion, you can see still how much of a lead OpenAI and ChatGPT has in this, which could totally relate to the $100 billion valuation.
Yeah, just the ratio of, like, imagine now Bard is available for anybody who's using Google.
Right.
And Bard has less than a quarter of 1 billion.
Yeah.
Right. And OpenAI is close to 15 billion. That's
right.
the ratio of usage.
Right. And so Bard is the third most with 241.6 million visits. And then there are these interesting things. There's janitor.com, janitorai.com. U.com is, or u.ai, sorry. U.com is now starting to be, like, I'm starting to see people talk about it. They've done a big push with the influencers in the AI world. And it's interesting. It's basically one of those things that lets you build kind of your own search engine. So you build it so that it's kind of tailored to you. Perplexity is next, our buddy Perplexity. Mm-hmm. And then we get into Crushan is a not safe for work AI that will speak all kinds of things to you should you want them to speak, right? So now we're seeing these kinds of technologies starting to break into the highly most visited. And this again is at Writer Buddy. So if you want to check it out, one of the other things.
Scroll over to the video services there where, yeah, there you go. Yeah. So you were just telling me before the show that you had done some images on Midjourney, which is your favorite. It's the leader by a long shot, like close to 4 times what the next one is.
Twice as many as Bard.
Right. Yeah. So Midjourney is doing extremely well. I have a little bit of news about Leonardo.ai. We've talked about, and that's number 4 in that chain of, highly used video generation tools. It's Leonardo.ai is Brian's favorite. He really likes using that. I saw news here about them adding the static image to motion video capability. It's a key capability. So you can generate an image from Leonardo, or we've talked about it in the context of OpenAI's DALL-E. You can generate an image, and I showed on the Toys Day for Christmas. I showed taking an image from DALL-E and then using Decohere, another one that earlier than Leonardo delivered this ability to just add motion to a static image. It figures out what parts of that image segments it ought to move, and then add some video motion to it on a very short clip, like 4 seconds, whatever. I haven't tried Leonardo.ai's version of that, but this is going to be a way for you to do advanced development of short form videos for marketing purposes, for entertainment purposes, and so on. But in the company context that a lot of our viewers are interested in, using Leonardo.ai, it should be a way for you to get something on your website or into your social media, feeds that is a little more eye-catching and easy to generate with these brand new tools. By the way, one of the things that's a real limitation for those is when you want to have some text embedded into the image. And there are only certain of the video and or image generating tools that do that reliably. Many of them don't really translate the text and the spelling, if you will, and formation of the font with reliability. So I'm not sure whether Leonardo does that or not.
I'm not sure either, but we on Friday are doing a show. This Friday we're doing a show about upscalers, so I will be trying Leonardo.
Okay, good.
I will also say another thing that happened this week. Pika, I think it's Pika, P-I-K-A. Maybe it's Pika,
I think
but
Pika.
I think it's
Yeah,
Pika. Okay.
Yeah.
.art is it has been an animation, like it had the ability to create interesting things prior to this, but they came out with their 1.0, which is no longer something that's used via Discord, which is what their previous one was. Now 1.0 is on the website, and they made it available to everyone who was on the wait list on Happy Holiday Christmas. So if you have been on the wait list and you don't know this, go to the website and see if it no longer says you're on the wait list, but hey, let's make some stuff together. Aaron did get an email. I checked all my stuff. I did not get an email, but I do have access to the tool. And that was very exciting. I think, and tomorrow we're talking about our recommendations are like, what do we predict is going to happen in 2024? But based on the end of 2023, it seems clear that motion and video is one of the growth areas, like massive growth areas.
Yes, indeed.
The other thing about Midjourney in this graphic that came out, talking about Midjourney was the most used at 500.4 million, but that represented a decrease in how much use it had prior to that. Which I think is interesting. And I have heard a bunch of people just anecdotally like, okay, nope, I canceled my Midjourney subscription because I find I'm not using it very much anymore. I am not canceling my Midjourney subscription, and I am perhaps going up a level in Midjourney subscription just because of the quality of the images are just delightful, and I can't wait to show you some of those on Friday. So come back because that will be a visual show. Andy, what else do you have?
I got nothing. That's it.
You got nothing.
Most of our team is gone. We're a catchment system for lots of interesting angles and facets of the world of AI. And with just Beth and me here, that's all the news that's fit at this point.
All right. I have a couple more.
Good.
One talking about videos. I also wonder if that has Greg. I also wonder if that has more to do with more people using the API. Interesting. So Midjourney doesn't have an official API, but it could be that more people are using the API and also DALL-E's API, right? Like there could be, you're right. I think API use is not being captured in those stats. So what is the name of this and how do I pronounce it? It is, so there is a data set And it's the largest data set powering AI images. And it was removed, and it Lion data sets removed, and that is because Stanford did some analysis in it, and it had child sexual abuse material in it. Now, most of those are likely scraped from the web. The web is wonderful, and also it's kind of a horrific situation as well. And so that's like a real positive thing, I think, that it was discovered, that the data set was removed from that. I do know that there are that when you're not very specific in a prompt, sometimes you get a bunch of, like, I tend to there's an Asian young woman who looks afraid, who comes, like, gets entered into things in a bunch of stable diffusion generations when you're not super specific. So I imagine that that some of that is there. And of course, we want AI to be safe for everyone, ethical, safe. All right. The other one that I thought was interesting is about this relates to what Andy was talking about. I wonder if it's the same story. Balls of human brain cells linked to a computer have been used to perform very basic speech recognition. The hope is that some systems will use far less energy than AI tasks than silicon chips. So the human brain cells are connected to a computer, right? So, like, this is the beginning of the it's not an EEG patch. It's my ChatGPT thing. It's no longer my glasses. It's just, it's
Well,
just like,
so that's something that I know that Elon Musk has formed a startup to work on.
right.
Do you know what the name of that startup is? This is about embedding something into your brain as an interface. But what you're talking about is actually quite interesting. It's external to your personal brain. You're going to have to use your own sensors to interpret what's coming out of a wet plus silicon system. So grow human brain cells in a petri dish, lump them together, and they become a neural network that you can train.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, of course,
it does.
It becomes a neural network. It recognizes Japanese vowel sounds, so I am assuming that this is a team out of Japan or somewhere in Asia. And this article is in the New Scientist. And
very cool.
The other thing, I have to mention Salesforce, although it's hilarious. Salesforce just put out a video, right? Like, these other things that we're talking about are like, this is a new capability. Salesforce put out a video that said data is the new gold, and we're not moving too fast. So that's that. The other story that I want to highlight is Apple's Ferret. So Apple has been quiet.
So that,
and all of us have sort of said, we know they're working on it. In fact, they've come out, there have been reports, right? All of their research money is being devoted to AI, but they are very Apple about it, and they are being quiet until, of course, they release something massive. Apple's Ferret, so that's a multimodal machine learning model. They released it in October as open source. So they dumped it on GitHub. They probably gently placed it on GitHub, not dump. And they have done a little bit of update, which I think is why this article is being written. And that article was on December 24th by Malcolm Owen. And Apple is partnering with Cornell University. And one of the things that this is interesting about is that, and I'm hearing an echo, so we'll see. Let's just close all of that and see if I can make that go away.
You're not echoing on this side.
Oh, good. So Apple's Ferret is also multimodal. So the new models that we're talking about as they're coming out are multimodal, which means that they are audio, video, and text. Likely both trained in, like pulling them in and potentially communicating that way as well.
Yeah. So,
Right
so
now,
imagine that you have your iPhone and you can talk to your Ferret powered AI assistant and just say, like, look what's on this screen, Ferret. You just showed me this, but like, take a second look at that and give me some more explanation about what's down there in the lower left corner.
Yeah.
That's potentially the eventual capability that's provided by a multimodal LLM that Apple's thinking about. So
Right.
making your phone more interactive, because the phone interface is both voice and it's screen. Like, we spend a lot of screen time. So
Right.
it's going to be thinking about that. Ferret is thinking about those screens.
And it connects to what we were talking about yesterday in terms of being able to shrink images down and have the AI consume all of the content of the image, because AI can see smaller than we can. Right. And so I thought it was interesting that Apple came out and said, yes, you can actually ask about the content in the lower left quadrant, in the tiny lower left quadrant. All right. Well,
so before we go, let's respond to Greg, who offered the question about maybe more API numbers are being missed in that ranking. He's saying, well, the next comment was he was referring to OpenAI's drop in numbers. Yeah, if OpenAI suffered a drop in numbers and they're still an order of magnitude larger than everybody else, I don't think it's really affecting them much. But you're right, there could be some variability that's associated with the measurements that they're making. Like, are these live? All of these being measured as live visits to websites, which is a little more, it's easier data to collect, or does it incorporate those people who are using the APIs, system to system connections to those generative language models? I suspect that is not being measured. So you're probably right, Greg. I'm going to be on your side on that one. I think probably OpenAI's total volume of traffic is even larger than what you're seeing in terms of actual visits to their website.
Absolutely. And you think about GPTs as being something that is pulling people in, but it was just announced, right? 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. And then things blew up, and then they didn't let people join, right? So like, there's a bunch of impediments to that, and the GPT store hasn't opened yet. So like, they've already got irons in the fire to expand beyond.
Yeah. So even when they had to forego allowing new users to sign up for ChatGPT Plus, which gives you access to a lot of additional features in OpenAI's system, the API access was still humming along. You could still sign up for API. So yeah, I wonder what the split. That's a great question. Let's see if we can find the answer to that question. What's the split of traffic between people accessing ChatGPT through the web and people who are accessing the very same models, but via the API?
That sounds like a great question for our old friend Perplexity. And tomorrow we will be talking about our predictions about what's coming in 2024. And we really want to know your predictions too. So go ahead and leave comments on the Daily AI Show on LinkedIn, or send them to us, thedailyAIshow@gmail.com. And thank you so much for joining us. I am going to, this is, you can tell I'm the replacement.
You're a great producer.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.